Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the ASMG's Back Pass, Episode 9. This is for the spring season of Georgia Premier Division in the UPSL. Since I'm late getting this out, this episode will serve more as a primer for the games coming up on the weekend in the Premier of Georgia. We do have an abbreviated schedule due to several teams taking this coming weekend off, but there are some very good and important matchups on tap that could mean quite a lot in the race for the division title, the race for playoff places, as well as the fight against relegation. We'll jump right into it with the first game that we had this past Saturday. And this first match we'll cover is between two teams going in two very different directions. We have Pachuca, Georgia, who they've been doing very, very well this season. After securing their place in the Premier, winning the Division One playoff last season, they've really gone from strength to strength. And under Ricardo Montoya's guidance and coaching, they've impressed and now are securely placed in the playoff places. Pretty impressive performance for their first ever chance to impress in the Premier Division of the UPSL Georgia. But FC Birmingham, on the other hand, talking about going in the other direction, have really not been able to get that rebuilding going, and they sit currently at the bottom of the table. They've suffered massively and struggled massively this season, trying to get a rhythm, trying to get a rebound from their earlier troubles in the season, but it just hasn't worked out for them. So it's going to take quite a lot of confidence building for FC Birmingham to turn things around, but they have an uphill battle to do that with the games remaining in the season. But they're going to have to make it work if they hope to have any chance of survival. Next up, we have possibly the game of the weekend. It was between Dalton United FC, who were hosting Kalanji Pro Profile in this match with title contending implications coming up. And particularly after Kalanji, who came away with a 1-1 draw against Potros a week ago, brought in an additional advantage of having two games in hand. If they take care of those with positive results, they control their own destiny as far as the division title. So it's theirs to lose. And unfortunately, this game was not live streamed, so only the ones in attendance actually saw the match. I can only judge the match on the result, which was a 2-1 victory for Kalanji. And it looked to be a very, very close match, with KSA getting all of the valuable 3 points they needed, which vaulted them back into first place, and still two games in hands, which they'll make up in the coming 2 weeks. And so the red carpet is rolled out for them. Is up to them whether or not they stay on that. Dalton United still have an opportunity to challenge for the division title, but they're going to have to need a lot of help from Kalanji to drop points, as well as teams like Georgia Revolution, Limeño, and Potros to also drop points for them to have even a chance at the division title with very few games left in the season now. The good news for Dalton is that they can secure home field advantage in the playoffs very soon if they continue to have positive results. Ultimately, if you can win the division playoffs, that is, advancing to the national playoff picture could make up for the disappointment of missing out on the title. So we'll go on to the next match. A good result for the Georgia Revolution, shutting out FC Columbus Elite in an impressive fashion by a score of 5-0. The win keeps Georgia Revolution in the division title hopes, if somewhat faintly, mainly due to those games in hands that Kalanji could convert, but they're in striking distance if they stay true to their recent form, which has been outstanding. FC Columbus have steadily improved the season, crawling out of the relegation places from the beginning of the season, now with an outside chance at possibly a playoff berth that they can finish the season strong. But the up and down nature of their season so far will make it a challenge to get there, but the possibility still remains. Next up, we have Limeño, Georgia, who were hosting Fountain City FC. And at first glance, it can be kind of shocking to see a promoted team like Limeño, who did win the Division One regular season title last season, challenged up at the top of the Premier Division in their first season back in the top flight, but challenging they are. When you consider the pedigree, though, coming from the likes of head coach Galdamez and realizing that this team had challenged for honors the previously when they were in Premier, it should not be such a shock. Leminho were dominating in this game, and in particular, their standout attack, which now rivals the attack structure that North Georgia had in the beginning of the season, with two outstanding players like Juan Panagos and Jamex Leon, who are terrorizing defenses all up and down the Premier Division table. It was no different on the day against Fountain City, with Leminho winning 5-1 to vault themselves towards the top of the table and in contention for a very high playoff place. So, though this is a setback for Fountain City, which sees them slip back into the relegation place, one positive result from the coming weeks for them could see themselves finding their way back to survival. They still can play their way to success, but like FC Birmingham, it will not be easy. So, we'll go on to the next result, and that one, I tell you, this score line personally shocked me. At the beginning of the season, I tipped North Georgia as the main contender to challenge KSA in the division title. For the first part of the season, it looked like I was in the ballpark with that prediction, but recent results from North Georgia have confirmed they have recently gone off the boil, and this 7-2 defeat to UMAFC has made it even worse. Formerly in first place, North Georgia have dropped down the table in recent weeks and have also had one of their star players, Emmanuel Lam, unavailable for selection, which I'm sure affected the results in recent games. North Georgia started the season undefeated on the maximum points after 4 matches, but after draws with Georgia Revolution and Pachuca, Georgia after that, North Georgia have now lost 4 in a row, virtually knocking them out of contention for the division title. Now the work will be cut out for them for a good placement in the division playoffs. But they'll need to arrest this free fall, and they need to get Lum back in the lineup to bolster up the attack. But they also seem to have some problems defense they need to address. And I'm sure that Coach K is working on that in training, but they must turn it around to bring value back to their season. UMA, on the other hand, are on the rise, moving above North Georgia in the standings with the victory and head-to-head tiebreaker applied. UMA's star is on the rise now. UMA will host Leminho, Georgia in the UPSL exclusive broadcast by ASMG, but presented on the UPSL YouTube channel. This is a game not to miss. Both clubs could really solidify their standings in the playoffs or better with a positive result. So this contest will see both teams vying for a result. It's going to be entertaining with Larry Weaver on the call. So now we get to the last meeting of the weekend, the contest between Albion SC Atlanta, who were hosting SSL FC. This match turned out to be a forfeit by Albion due to a failure of meeting the standards at the facility, most notably the failing to secure flood lamp coverage for this nighttime match. After an hour delay for the attempts to get the lights from the facility turned on, the referees were forced to abandon the match after 49 minutes with SSL in a 1-0 lead at the time. Per UPSL rules, the circumstances around the abandonment triggered a forfeit ruling from the league. And frankly, I mean, I feel bad for Albion because, this illustrates a problem that many teams are having at this level, not just in the UPSL, but across Georgia and in particular Alabama with FC Birmingham and their struggles with their facility. The facility staffs and admins of these teams, these teams depend on these staffs to deliver, and sometimes they don't. They fail, and then this hurts the team, and this is what happened here. So this seems to be the case for a lot of different teams in leagues in the lower tiers. And so this is something we're going to have to continue to work on and try to improve, find better facilities. And FC Birmingham have had even worse circumstances in their attempts to secure a home venue. and support what the team is trying to do, in particular in the UPSL. This ongoing problem, we'll have to try to figure it out, as I said, but unfortunately, in this case, it's caused a negative result for Albion as they are ultimately responsible for assuring that the game can safely go on and access to the field, locker rooms would be provided at the appropriate times, and this wasn't done. So not only will Albion lose the match to a forfeit, the forfeit also triggers a deduction of 3 points in the division table, which has some implications to the playoff race as well as the fight against relegation. So stay tuned to see what happens here. So we'll look at the results, do another review of them here. Of course, we saw the Pachuca still in fine form, defeating FC Birmingham, who are needing to turn their season around, but that loss to Pachuca 3-0 cements them to the foot of the table. Dalton United lost to Kalanji Pro Profile, which vaults Kalanji back to first place. Leminho, Georgia, one of the stars of the division right now, 5-1 over Fountain City. Fountain City, they did drop this game, but they still have a lot of potential for survival. Their fate is in their own hands. They just need to get the results. Georgia Revolution, emphatic win against FC Columbus, putting in their claim to honors this season in the division with a fine result there. And then the Sunday games, of course, UMA FC, heavy win against North Georgia United, who are in trouble right now with the recent form that they've had and a dip in the form. They need to turn that around. They have the guns and the horses. Let's see if they can do it on the pitch. And, of course, Albion SC, unfortunately, with the forfeit loss to SSL, that gives SSL a 3-0 victory on forfeit, and Albion were going to be deducted 3 points because of this result. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that table. And what this means is you see up there Kalanji in commanding form there. I say commanding. It's a 1-point lead against the next three teams in line, but they have 2 games in hand. That's the thing you have to remember. And this is what we talked about this in the last episode. We have 3 teams on 18 points, and we talked about how the tiebreaker is different since last season. This was applied last season. It's no longer goal difference; it's head to head. And so with Leminho defeating Portos earlier, that vaults them up. Now Leminho still have to play Georgia Revolution. It's the last game of the season for both of them, and at that time, if let's say that game ends in a tie, then you have, and they're tied on points, then you have to drop down to the next tiebreaker, which is going to be goal difference. And so it's really, really tight at the top there. And right outside the top 4 there, you got Dalton United on 17. And so they're right there with it as well. I think that UMA maybe is just too far out with the games remaining. But they have a real good opportunity, not only at a playoff spot, but also home field advantage if they can really make the results in the last part of the season work for them, as well as seeing if the teams above them drop more points. But that would be an amazing circumstance for UMA FC. North Georgia, we already talked about them. They're also on 14 points. Dropping down below UMA on the head-to-head tiebreaker. And, of course, there's Pachuca, Georgia, right under them on 13. But you can see how tight it is up there in the playoff places. And, look, SSL have played themselves in contention on 9 points there, just below Georgia Athletic. FC Columbus, the same with SSL. But down at the bottom, we see here what's happened with Albion. They were on 11. They could have, if they were able to play that game and even win that game, you're talking about maybe in one of those playoff places right now. But you see they've dropped down, and now they're kind of getting that gravitational pull towards the relegation zone where Fountain City and FC Birmingham are. But again, Fountain City and FC Birmingham, they have enough games to play themselves out of those places there. So a lot depends on the results that they can get and also the points that might be dropped above them in the league table. So I tell you what, it's going to be a dramatic end to the season from up and down that table. And one of the other competitions, of course, not only for the table, is the Golden Boot. Nazario Embamio from Potros just signed with them this season, and he has been gangbusters. Coming in, bolstered the Potros attack, had them in first place for 1 week here before Kalonji Pro Profile came back and drew with them and then won this weekend. They have 2 games in hand. But they're right there in contention as well with the leadership and attack from Nazario and Bamio. And along with him, there's a really good attacking force there, strong team from back to front. You got Mark Bonneau that also is a strong attacking partner to Mbamio. So something to look forward to. Emmanuel Lum and Ronald Maradiaga, the attacking combo there at North Georgia United. Ronald has been able to put in a few more goals to tie his attacking partner, Emmanuel Lum, who's missed the last couple of games. Um, I'm not sure why. He was injured against, I think it was Georgia Revolution, but he has not been back, and I'm not sure what his status is and how soon he'll be back. But I tell you, they could really use him there in North Georgia, and his return could turn the season around as he teams back up with Ronald. Usman Fall, of course, with SSL, is still on 8 points, but he's right there trying to move up the table. Yip Van Essen, another player that's missed a lot of games for Dalton, but mainly because of college duty, not because of injury. So I don't know what his status is either, but he can help if he's able to get back in. Very prolific striker for Dalton United. And there's that man, J. Max Leon from Lamigno, scored a brace this past weekend, put himself up in the top half of the Golden Boot table. And Thierry Jules, their Kalonji Pro Profile, brings it up on 6. And there's a whole host of players on 5 and below in their very exciting season from the UPSL Georgia Conference. So one other thing I wanted to go over is that one of the things that has come up or that the UPSL is doing now in each of the conferences across the nation is the Team of the Week. And this is something that's voted on by the coaches. And, of course, we have the selections from this week here. I'll look here. I'm looking at it for the first time myself here. But as you can see, you got Tony Tiente out here on the left, one of the forwards on there. Davis Knight in the center of attack from UMA, Frankie Ferreras from Pachuca, and Ringdahl from Georgia Revolution, I believe, had a brace as well this weekend. So you can look and see there the standout players that the coaches have picked from this past weekend. There were a couple of teams that didn't play, so you wouldn't see them. But maybe next week you'll see somebody from Potros and other teams that come up there. But this is great because I think one of the things that is good about the teams of the week that the UPSL is featuring is you get to see the potential of who are the next stars that are going to get to the next level, maybe to the professional ranks, whether it's USL, MLS, overseas, down in Latin America, over in Europe, in the Orient. So there's a lot of places these players can go, and you're getting to see the birth of that talent right now. And these teams of the week can kind of give you a heads up of who to look for from week to week in here. So really, really great weekend of action is something that is going to be bringing about a dramatic end to the season as we get towards the end of the spring season here. And not only the regular season, but as we get into the division playoffs and on to the national playoffs. Of course, the finals of the nationals are going to be back in Irvine, California this season at that beautiful facility there. And so it's really a great stage for the league and for the players and the teams involved. So look forward to that. That's all we have for this week's Hot Takes. For more content, what you want to do is go and visit our YouTube channel. That's at ASMG TV. Just do a search on that. And don't forget to like and share on the videos that you watch and subscribe. It's free. It allows us to share even more content of this league and these players, and it really is going to expand, especially as a kind of closing note. We do have the women's division that's starting this weekend. The first match is going to be North Georgia women, who are going to be hosting Middle Georgia United Peaches, who are coming up to Riverbend Park. This is a game that will be produced by ASMG. It'll be posted on Monday. It will not be live streamed this weekend, but the other games will be live streamed. We just have a lot of coverage to do with the men right now as we come to the close, but we will have action to share with you on that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on the ASMG Back Pass.